Welcome to What's Up Pasadena. Do you like quirky? How about spectacle? Well then this is the episode for you. On this episode, we pull some strings to take you inside the Bob Baker Marionette Theater, march along with the Pasadena Scots, a bagpiping team that recently won the World Pipe Band Championship, and meet an LA-based musician currently on an international tour with a solo album.
Hi, I'm Baz Francis from the bands Magic 8 Ball and Mansion Harlots, and I'm also a solo artist too.
Don't let imaginations wonder what it feels to be like in the spring without you beneath the monkey bars today.
I began playing music when I was 16 with my first band that's now been reignited, Mansion Harlots, and I then migrated onto Magic 8 Ball, my next band, and along the way people started paying me. I play guitar and piano, but I've always been a singer, and it started off out of necessity because no one else wanted to do that job, and it ended up being something that I cherished. I describe my music as soulful rock and roll. The biggest influence on my music, I guess, has been my personal life, as I think it has been for every musician in history. So all of my relationships, both beautiful and flawed, have fed into that. In terms of musical influences, my biggest, I would say, are Manic Street Preachers, Queen, Cheap Trick, Hall & Oates, Donny V, and then on the other side, you have Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder and a whole barrage of soulful acts who have also fed into what I do. And I don't think of myself as just a rock artist or just a pop artist. I think of myself as, hopefully, just a musician. I've played all across Europe with this album, into Africa, and now North America, and it's been exciting, it's daunting, and it's all the things that making live music should be. And I feel like I've got as much out of playing a great show in Hollywood as I have done in playing a show farther afield.
Forever foolish, but you won't catch me again. I wasn't quick to run the first day. I streamed my record, but the music carried on.
So I was playing at The Mix in Pasadena 2 weeks ago for Live at the Mix, which is a great new music night that they're hosting down there, run by AJ Curtin of the band Future Reference. You can check them out on Facebook. And the sound that night was done by Brandon Cortez. With my music videos, I remember when I filmed the Russian ballet video in London, I was so cold. And when I did the Come Get Your Kicks video, I was really getting beaten up in that video. That's not acting. So all of these things in that moment when I'm suffering led me to believe this is going to make some great visual footage. And then when it resonated with people, I thought, okay, I'm going to have to keep punishing myself to be visually stimulating in the future. But it's working, and I'll keep doing that, I'm sure, as long as my body will allow it. Where I want to go next with my music, on one hand, I want to go into heavier territory, and in another aspect, I want to go into more soulful territory. And I don't really know if that's got anything to do with where I am physically, but where I'm at mentally. The thing that draws me to music is probably how it's invisible. And when you see something beautiful, you know on one hand why you find it engaging. Whereas when something is not there in front of you to see, it creates a whole mixture of questions in your head that you need to answer. And those answers seem to be found through attending live shows, performing live shows, creating a band, finding out all about your favorite artists. And I think it is just a very unique medium for someone who's trying to learn about not what other people are doing so much, but about themselves.
Hey How are you today?
Good.
I'm here to talk about how with technology you can make amazing worlds. Come with me. My team and I bring the Halo world to life.
Is that you?
That is me. I wasn't a math genius and I knew nothing about coding. But you guys do. You guys have the power to change things.
I want your job.
I want you to have my job.
Puppetry has long been used to inspire imagination and creativity, and now a famous LA theater steeped in history is soon bringing their stringed actors to a Pasadena stage.
The Bob Baker Marionette Theater was founded in 1963, and before that, Bob Baker had a company that ran out of his garage where he used to do traveling puppet shows, birthday parties, community functions, window displays at buildings like Bullock's Wilshire all across Los Angeles. But he founded this theater in 1963 so he could do shows in the round, which is what our style of stage is. So kids sit in kind of a horseshoe, and the puppets use the entire blue part of the stage behind me to move around and sit on laps and kind of like offer just full performative shows that are really like eye level for kids and are at the point when you're really looking at the puppet and the action's just right in front of you. So it's designed to be a really impactful first theatrical experience for children. I think puppetry is a particularly important and captivating way to present theater because, especially for children, it's really a medium that speaks directly to them, both because it's at eye level, because most of our puppets are between 2 and 4 feet tall, and it's a way that they can watch the puppets, hear the music, and really see how these emotions are being expressed, sometimes through goofy ways, like you might have a tap dancing bullfrog or a monkey that's walking on stilts. But at the end of the day, the messages that Bob had in his productions and the ways that we present the show, they teach things like kindness, like an appreciation for history, like humor, like friendship. And I think that it's something that, a 3-year-old can sit through and they're able to interact with it in a way that is very direct. And that's just because it's the nature of puppetry and the performance where something's happening, 1 foot from your face.
Bob practically saved my life. I was just a little troublemaker around the neighborhood, and I came into the theater, and he practically opened the whole house for my, to invite me inside. And I would just spend time with him, talking about puppets, talking about how he will manipulate a puppet, because my English was not that good at the time. So by me communicating with Bob will be mostly by marionettes. And Bob was full of life, and he created almost 3,000 marionettes that we always love to show it off, and it's just amazing. Bob's story is super unique and amazing, and it's a story that you have to spend hours and hours to try to explain what Bob did to the world, especially to Los Angeles, and we're here to still try to, keep alive his legacy.
In the last year, we've really focused on kind of bringing the Bob Baker Marionette Theater back to what Bob was doing even before the theater was founded, which is road shows and traveling presentations all across Los Angeles. And for us, Pasadena has just been a city where we've had so many opportunities to bring the show to an audience that in many cases has never even come down here. For the month of September, in the midst of doing weekly shows at One Colorado, so we present just in the courtyard there. And we also have an ongoing relationship with the Paseo. So wherever you can kind of find courtyards and malls is where we'll do shows in Pasadena, as well as special engagements throughout the summer. This December, we'll be presenting Bob Baker's Nutcracker at the Pasadena Playhouse. So when someone walks into the Bob Baker Marionette Theater, we're really designing everything as a full experience. So from the second you come in, you're transported into something that in many ways feels like it's from 1963 and it's unchanged. And you're seated in this theater that looks like it's Christmas all year round. There's stars on the walls. The lights on the ceiling are made of old Folgers coffee cans that blink in every different rainbow color. And it just looks like a kid's version of a fancy theater, which is how Bob designed it. And as the show goes on, you notice that everything is handmade. If you look at it up close, it's a recognizable object, or it has painstaking detail that is just, it has the mark of someone who worked for a really long time and worked really hard on it. You can head back into the theater and look at our beautiful light board, which actually predates the theater and is just this crazy grouping of cables that runs up the side of the wall and still controls all of our coffee can lights that you see here. There's drop side with all of the ropes that bring down our incredible collection of drops and scenic sets, and all of the puppets. Between 80 and 100 in each show are in the wings of the stage, and all of them are just from throughout the years. Some of them predate the theater and are from the 50s, others Bob made in the 1980s. So it's really just a massive collection that you've just seen perform right in front of you. Upstairs we have Bob Baker's office, which we now kind of use as a library. So us here, we think of it as the inside of Bob's brain. It is just all of the music for the shows. It's the concept drawings of the puppets. It's books on puppetry. It's children's books, books on Hollywood, animation guides. It's everything that he used to make this experience that our audience has just seen. And then you can walk downstairs and go into the workshop where you see where these puppets were actually built. And to this day, we do work in there. We make new puppets. We do repairs on the old ones. And just everything is completely self-contained in this little world of the theater, which is such a unique thing, to be somewhere where you can actually feel like 60 years of history have happened inside of here, and then you're able to watch the culmination of it in the form of an hour-long puppet show. We're hoping to grow, and not only to present Bob's collection as something that's really important to the city of Los Angeles, but to invite people to have their first or maybe their 1,000th theatrical experience here and be inspired by it in a way where they continue to engage not only in puppetry, but just in imagination and intentional art making, which is really what this place is all about. At its heart, it's puppetry, but what we want to encourage is for people to bring the sense of fun and imagination and craftsmanship into every element of what they do.
Hi.
Hi. Patience. Pass it on. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
From the first note, the sound of bagpipes can cause the stirring of emotion. While you may typically see bagpipers at a parade, teams often participate in serious competitions. And we happen to have the world champions right in our backyard.
The Pasadena Scottish Pipes and Drums, also known as the Pasadena Scots, been around since 2006. We're a bagpipe and drum band based in Pasadena, and we're dedicated to the preservation and instruction of Scottish music. So we teach bagpipes and drums here, and we've got two bands. We've got a grade 3 band and a grade 5 band. The grades speak to the level of band, the amount of members, and the difficulty in the musical selections that we have to compete with across Southern California, the West Coast, and the world. We have two bands. The thing that's cool about our band, and I think most pipe bands, is that we attract people from all walks of life. It's a wide range and a wide gamut of different life experiences, and it's an amazing group of people, and that's, I think, why we do it, is because we get to be with such a diverse array of people all the time. So the history of the pipes started as just like a single chanter. We call the part that you play the melody on the chanter. That was played, somewhere in, it's either, some people say it started in Egypt, or it started in the Middle East, or it started in Greece, but definitely not in Scotland is, I think, the takeaway there. People just played melodies like on this one piece of wood with a reed at the end of it, and then somebody was like, well, it'd be awesome if there was like accompaniment, like some kind of drone or like some bass note that could be played against it. So they added a pipe to it, and they're like, well, the droning has to stop at some point because you can't blow two things at the same time. So someone's like, well, let's just add this dead animal hide and just tie the pipes to it, and then it can like act as a reservoir. And they're like, oh, but then there's air coming back into my mouth when I'm blowing into the bag. And someone said, okay, well, you can take some more dead animal and put a flapper valve at the end so that the air doesn't come back into your mouth. And then somehow this got to Scotland, probably through war. And then when it got to Scotland, they're like, well, why do you have only one drone? Like, you should add like 2 or 3. It needs to be louder. So then like they added more, and I think over time it got refined, and we're left with this really loud, crazy instrument that we know is the Great Highland Bagpipe. To become a very skilled bagpiper, and not a master of the instrument by any means, is a lot of dedication, time, perseverance, like not being discouraged by not sounding the way you want to, or not sounding like the people that you're listening to sound like. And I think it just takes an open mind as well, because I think that speaks to the success of this band, is everybody in the band is very open-minded. When we have instruction come, when we have coaches come in, everyone leaves their ego at the door and says, you know what, you have a lot to teach us, and you're passing along this tradition that's a difficult tradition to pass on. The first year the band started, we had the amazing opportunity to travel to Beijing as part of the Sister Cities project. It was amazing. We played concerts. We got to play on the Great Wall, and I mean, going to Beijing, period, and being a pipe band in Beijing is amazing. So the pipe band community is always, I think, driven by competition, whether it's solos or bands, or even like outside of the musical part of Scottish culture around the world. Like there's Highland dancing competitions. So everything's very competitive, but we do parades, we do lots of gigs that help the band, make ends meet, because it's an expensive activity. Recently we went to the World Championships in Glasgow, Scotland, which is an annual Olympics or Super Bowl of pipe bands. There's 215 to 50 bands from around the world that all converge on one piece of grass on one day. And everyone in the band, and the grade 3 band, this is the band that made a huge push and put in hours and hours and hours and hours of time, and there was 2 heats of about 12 bands, and we played in the morning. We then had to wait in agony for the results to know if we made it in the top 6 of that heat. So the top 6 bands from each heat play in the finals. And ours came up, I think, 9th, and I think all of us almost passed out. I don't know of what, but we were just it was the anticipation of waiting, seeing our name, it was exciting. And then, a few hours later, you have to get your instruments back out, tune them up again, play in the final against the top, 11 other bands in your grade in the world. So, that was, it was high stakes. We went to results a few hours later after they said first place, and saying Pasadena after. I'm sure everyone, including the people from the UK, were like, where's Pasadena and who's Pasadena? So it was super exciting. We were all to hear that the city name, Pasadena Scots, in the UK, we'll never forget that. I don't think anybody could forget what happened when we heard our names.
Here's your events calendar for the month of December. Fall Dance Concert on December 1st at Pasadena City College. Holiday Home Tour on December 2nd at Castle Green. Children's Pajama Concert on December 2nd at South Pasadena Library. The Mayor's Annual Holiday Tree Lighting on December 7th at Centennial Square. Christmas Tree Lane Lighting Ceremony on December 8th at Altadena Public Library. Snow Days December 26th through 30th at Kids Space Museum. Float Decorating December 28th through 31st at various locations. That's your events calendar for the month of December. Thanks for joining us on this episode. Be sure to follow us on social media and visit us at pasadenamedia.org. See you next time.